Guys, in the last couple of videos, I've talked about how this heat could cause extreme weather, whether it was an Atlantic hurricane moving over North Virginia or a storm moving across the nation, how it could affect the grid and thus affect the data centers. What you're looking at right now is what they call a derecho, guys. It is 100-mile-per-hour winds, and it's ripping the grids down across these states right now. Tornado warnings are involved. But I want you to notice something. Right here, as the high winds kick in, it crosses the entire state of Kentucky very quickly, moving south. Watch that. Let me move the cursor. Watch that. Very fast. 100-mile-per-hour plus winds. That is approaching Cat 2 hurricane speeds. Think about what I'm saying. And we've always talked about, and we'll try to keep the data straight, is that the effect of this heat, the effect of the changes on the entire planet, and the effect that of the storms that's causing this down now. Let's look at the report. Now, this is the U.S. power outage map. And, guys, you've got 1,102,872 now reporting power problems. If you're in the pink, you're above 100,000. If you're in the blue, you're 10,000 to 50K. And look, here we got 4 states. We got Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky now involved in this. Kentucky, 109,000 folks. Indiana, 218,000. Illinois. Indiana, 360,000. 287 over in Ohio. Georgia, you got 12,163. North Carolina, 27,450. Now, one of the areas I've been talking about and being concerned about is the Dominion grid that runs in North Virginia data centers called Data Center Alley. And we do have a very powerful hurricane that appears to be forming very quickly in the Atlantic. But let's focus here now. What we got is 1.1 million homes and businesses that are currently without power. This is across the Midwest and the surrounding states due to a massive line of severe storms. The primary culprit is a violent derecho, a long-lived, fast-moving windstorm that packed hurricane-force wind gusts up to 90 to 100 miles per hour. You've got the problems in Illinois and Indiana. Over 600,000 customers lost power as the storm tore through the Chicago area and northwestern Indiana, toppling massive trees into the power lines. In Ohio, more than 290,000 customers are in the dark with severe flooding and high winds triggering localized emergencies. In Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia, the remaining outages span across these states as the storm system continues to push east. It's moving south and east, as you can see, as it moved across Kentucky. But it is moving east across, then it's going to be across this area of Northern Virginia before too long. And what did we say would be the end of the data center control? Anything that happened that would knock the grid out and for a prolonged period of time, over 24 hours or so, because they've got about that much diesel backup once that 10 to 15 minutes of battery power goes. But if they lose all power, and they're already saying this is a multiple day repair setup already, and it's still going on. But if they lose that, guys, they will lose a lot of data in these chips and could damage a lot of equipment. You know, it's getting to the point to where Mother Nature sees the culprit. And this is exactly what's happening right now. This multi-stage outage of this size directly triggers emergency protocols for tech infrastructure located in the path of the storm. Data centers in the affected Midwest corridors have immediately disconnected from the public grid, so that move's already been made. They had to switch immediately to the backup batteries. That will be for 10 or 15 minutes, then tap into a 24 to 48 supply of diesel for the backup generators. Now, what else happens when they immediately turn off the grid? We have that snapback, that ghost in the machine that we've also been talking about for a couple of weeks now. They are currently running entirely on industrial diesel backup generators to keep servers online and prevent internet blackouts, guys. Again, we got multi-day repairs coming because of the damage as it swept through and tearing down the trees and the power lines and everything else, ripping lines up. So we talked about this too, and I'm kind of having to go through it quickly, so bear with me. If you get into a power line or power grid, say the Northeast or right here in the Midwest, and a lot of them are tied onto the same grids, then you have multiple examples, guys, let me say it like that, of emergency diesel supply and demand. And we talked about 160 to 180,000 gallons per day per generator, and how that would affect the ability for that many trucks to get into any 1 hour area, especially if you have damage. And where's the supply coming from? But they're saying that, again, they are currently running entirely on the industrial diesel backup generators to keep servers online. The extreme weather triggered full ground stops at major hubs like Chicago's O'Hare and Midway airports, complicating travel for local emergency and utility crews. And you have to wonder how much of the air traffic control, the booking, and all of that has to do with AI. And it's not just the high winds. You got flash flood emergencies. They've been declared in parts of Ohio. Localized flooding poses a direct threat to the underground fiber optic cables and basement power infrastructure that data centers rely on. What I see happening, guys, is that summer is getting to its peak. We've got another month or two of it. Is a lot more of this. And it's like Atlas shrugged. The world cannot handle the way it's being treated right now, and it is shrugging. Now, you got several regions that were hit hard today, and it impacted the tech giant hyperscalers in the greater Chicago area, northern Indiana, and central Ohio. These are massive technology hubs. The companies running facilities in these storm zones include Microsoft, operates major cloud facilities in northern Illinois and massive multi-billion-dollar campuses expanding across Indiana. The Amazon Web Services, called AWS, has a heavy footprint in Ohio, especially around Columbus and Illinois, where they handle vast amounts of internet traffic. Now, Facebook, they've got massive energy-heavy data complexes in DeKalb, Illinois, and New Albany, Ohio. And you've got co-location providers, major companies like Digital Realty, and you see those all over that Northern Virginia alley there. But Cyrus One and Align Data Centers rent out massive server spaces to smaller tech firms across the exact states. Now, the moment the grid voltage drops at these data centers, guys, or even flickers, a giant uninterruptible power supply UPS system keeps the servers alive for a few seconds. That's usually the flywheel and the batteries. Then the diesel generators kick in. Within 15 seconds, massive industrial diesel backup generators automatically start up to carry 100% of the data center's electrical load. Again, remember, they're cutting off quickly, switching to this. What does that cause? That ghosting snapback effect. The data center completely unplugs from the public utility grid, running entirely on its own fuel until the power companies like ComEd in Illinois or the AEP in Ohio can physically repair the torn down lines. Do they have enough diesel? And I'm sure they're going to be pushing to get those data center lines back up as fast as possible. Now, the timing is amazing, but again, one of the things we talked about was when they cut off the grid, but the public grid right now today during the storm is experiencing massive, highly unstable voltage fluctuations. That automatically triggers, even if you don't have a complete grid kill, that triggers the data centers to go to the backup smooth voltage power supply, like a pure sine wave, I guess you would call it. But again, these fluctuations right now, they're happening because of the severe storm tearing across the Midwest. The PJM interconnection grid, which manages power across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, is dealing with a double whammy of sudden physical damage and massive data center load drops. They turn the power off from the grid. That causes that bounce back or rebound effect. There's a major arcing even at the data centers on the switch gears. And then this blow back into our grid, is damaging it. Now, you got a lot of voltage swing and phase swing going on here. When a violent storm comes through, you have these frequency swings. Every time a 100-mile-per-hour wind gust knocks out a transmission tower, the grid's electrical frequency shifts. Instantly following that, data centers in Chicago and Ohio hit their limiters and drop off the public system to protect themselves. Again, multiple units dropping off causes multiple snapback and rebound effects, damaging the grid. Now, again, AI is controlling the AI centers and the grid there. In other words, the millisecond almost of a voltage fluctuation, they can kill that grid, kick it back into our grid, and at the same time, what you're dealing with is operators along the grid that are not at light speed. They cannot easily predict the data center disconnects because thousands of server racks are unplugging independently based on their own internal software rules. Grid controllers are actively struggling to balance supply and demand as we speak. And the people like you and me, guys, they're getting problems right now because of these overlapping snapbacks and storm damages. People across the Midwest who still have physical lines attached to their houses are noticing immediate grid instability. You've got widespread light pulsing. Homeowners in non-damaged neighborhoods are reporting lights flickering, brightening, and dimming for minutes at a time. The dirty voltage spikes traveling through the regional wires are causing sensitive home appliances like smart refrigerators and modern HVAC systems to trip their own safety switches to avoid getting fried. And so things are moving so quickly, guys. You do a video about it one day and you start seeing it happen within a few days. It's crazy, but it's because when you pay attention, you're going to notice these things. We're watching this, guys. Watch for the National Weather Service, and I'm going to link it in the comments below the video. Keep an eye on it tonight. If you're in one of these regions, remember how fast it's pushing south, how fast it's pushing to the east. And that's going to affect a lot of people before it's said and done. More than likely, much more than 1 million. And we don't know how long that it's going to take to repair the downed trees that ripped up power lines and the poles that are missing, and some of the big towers were hit. They're saying multi-day. We will see. So what we could look for is a massive rush on diesel supply to multiple areas. Now, how will they set that up? You've got several 18-wheeler type vehicles on the roads today. Some are food supply trucks, other supplies. Some are gas and diesel, but they all share one thing: they run on diesel. So how will the immediate diesel demand to keep all of these data centers happen? Will we see the Fed step in and say this is important to our military to keep ahead of the AI race? We have to keep this going regardless of the common person? We may. But it's going to be a very interesting scenario to watch and see how it's played out, how the leaders of the nation will handle it, who comes first. We're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a major heads up. Keep that Weather Channel link that I'm going to put down below very active. Post it up into your addresses at the top and watch it through the rest of the summer. It's going to be very important.